Hey everyone, I hope you're all enjoying the summer out there. So this week's video became way longer than I expected, but that's because it's a real passion project of mine. So here we're going to follow a micro landscape photography adventure that happens from like midday and then all the way through evening, through the night and until the next morning. I've tried to really focus on the atmosphere, the sound of nature, and making sure that you feel that you are there with me throughout the video. I do take myself a little bit more time to get things done, but I make sure to reward you with some finished photos all the way through the video. I hope you will enjoy it because, as I said, it was a real passion project of mine. Today I am super excited because I'm going on a little landscape photography mini adventure to a location that I'm sure will make James Popsys super jealous. So here we have Google Earth and Denmark, and I live up here in Copenhagen, and the island I'm going to is the one down here. So I'm driving across Zealand, taking the ferry and sailing to this island right there. And a few words about the gear I'm bringing. So I have my regular camera with the 28 to 200 millimeter. Then I have my 16 to 35 millimeter f4. I'm also bringing the 10 millimeter. I'm not sure I'm going to need it. And then I have my extra camera, the A7C, with the 20 millimeter f1.8. The reason why I bring that is I may need to film during night. I'm not entirely sure if I get Noctilucent clouds or something like that, but it's always good to have. On top of that, I've also brought my 50 to 400 millimeter in case I really need to zoom in. I don't care so much about weight because I'm in my own car and I just have my stuff with me. And of course, I'm bringing the drone and a couple of tripods. Now, I wanted to go to this place for I don't know how many years, and today I'm doing it. So let's go. Before I started photographing in my home country Denmark, I never really gave it any thought that the state of Denmark is an island country. Heck, even counting the entire kingdom with the archipelago of the Faroe Islands and Greenland, literally the largest island on the planet. It wasn't before doing landscape photography I got to think of Denmark as an island country, which is a bit silly considering, Vikings. Denmark consists of over 400 islands. The precise number is 406 if you count all the named islands, including the large peninsula of Jutland where I am from. Fun fact, the direct translation of peninsula into Danish is half island. About 72 of the Danish islands are inhabited. Now, this is of course nothing compared to the about 220,000 islands of Sweden or about 240,000 islands of Norway. But the islands in Denmark, not counting the peninsula of Jutland, roughly takes up about 50% of the area of Denmark, whereas that percentage is absolutely tiny for Sweden and Norway. Now, the issue with islands is there is a kind of mental and resource barrier to get to them. It costs both extra time and money, and you usually need to figure out accommodation. This combination just adds up to something you never really get done or push to a better time. But now I finally got going. So I'm going to this tiny island called Ormø, and as I said, it's tiny. Most Danes have probably never heard about it, and if they have, they probably can't even place it on a map. However, on this island there is a beautiful yellow lighthouse that I want to photograph. So, Ormø Lighthouse, isn't that a beauty? It was built in 1893 to 94 and it is 22 meters tall. As you can see, it's yellow and I think that is super aesthetic. It is also one of the many lighthouses that were built in Denmark in the late 1800s, and they have this very stereotypical shape of a lighthouse. And as I've said in earlier videos, I personally find that all the Danish lighthouses is one of the biggest features and most beautiful features of the Danish landscapes. A big part of arriving at a new location is exploring it and finding all the potential compositions before the light gets good. So there's still 5 hours to sunset, so I'll just spend the time wisely here and explore the area a bit. I have prepared a little bit from home, so I do have an idea about what's possible here. But I've come out here on this day because supposedly the wind should go away. It has been so windy in Denmark for the past months, but finally it has died down a bit, and as you can see, blue sky, which ought to also give a beautiful, maybe a little bit boring, but beautiful calm sunset. You can photograph the lighthouse from several different angles and distances. I really wanted a reflection photo, so my main thinking was focusing my attention along the shorelines south and east of the lighthouse. So right now my thinking is to just walk a little bit up the beach right here, because as you can see, you can hardly see it, but just in front of the lighthouse there are actually some bushes. So if I take the photograph too close to the lighthouse, those bushes will take up a lot of space, which is why I try to get a little bit of distance so that I can get that perspective compression and make the bushes smaller relative to the real size of the lighthouse. So I managed to find an angle and a perspective where the lighthouse theoretically can make a reflection in the water. I'll have to wait a little bit. Hopefully the wind will calm down, the water will calm down closer to sunset, maybe even during night, and I can get a blue hour shot from this location here. But at the very least, I figured out that it ought to work, especially because the bushes, as you can see, are not as impactful all the way up here due to the perspective compression. So it ought to work. Now, in an example like this, where I have such a clear subject, where it's all about the lighthouse, what you can basically do when you think composition is just to find a whole lot of different foregrounds. In this example here, it was all about getting the reflection. I know I can probably get a leading line both along the shoreline, but also up at the road that leads towards the lighthouse. Maybe I can even find some bushes or something that can just help create depth and dynamics in the photos. If you want to learn much more about composition in landscape photography, be sure to get my ebooks on exactly that topic. Here I cover all the different compositional tools, as I like to call them, and there are so many examples that you can more or less just copy for your own compositions if you want to. Whether it's reflections, leading lines, what focal length to use, perspective compression, where to place your subject, right in the middle of the frame or off center, how to create depth, how to show scale, and much, much more is something I cover in those ebooks on composition. Along with my ebook on light, which is a theme that is just as important when it comes to landscape photography, you can find the links to the ebooks down in the description of the video. You can actually see the Great Belt Bridge from the side right here. It's quite interesting perspective. And right now we have the big color line ferry coming down from Germany, sailing up to, my estimated guess is Norway. And it's just in front of the bridge. The perspectives are just so cool. I have photographed the Great Belt Bridge a few times over the years, and it's just such a marvelous subject. Huge, huge bridge. Well, it's not my main subject today, but it does look cool with that big ferry right there in front. It's important to keep up the energy level, so gotta get myself a little bit of dinner. Yummy! It's funny when you're out and like you dedicate yourself to a photography outing like I have today, like opportunities just happen and it's just about using them to your benefit. So there's this beautiful old ship out there, and I've simply just put on the 50-400, zooming all the way in, getting a few minimal shots of it. Now I may just try and see if I can bring in just a little bit of foreground here. I'm not sure if it makes sense. Yeah, maybe. So the most obvious shot from this direction is definitely just using the road right here as a leading line, leading straight towards the lighthouse, which is really nice. The light from this angle is not super good. It's probably better for sunrise. My estimated guess sunrise is more or less like straight in that direction. So hopefully my own shadow will not be in the way once the sun comes up. Ah yeah. So nice that it's warm. So nice. Danish summer. Nothing better. Sadly, my microphone had a bit of a connection problem when I started explaining this scene, so you'll just get the first part with a voiceover. It's an important scene as I'll get back to it again and again. But what I'm saying is that I really like this scene when photographing around 135mm. Even though I bring in a lot of like negative space in the water here, I still have that somewhat bland blue sky to compensate for that and balance it out on the top left side. And then I just have like the beach, the foreground here, leading into the lighthouse, and then place the lighthouse up there on the top right intersection point. If we just use a simple rule of thirds for this one, I think that could actually work really, really well. I just need the light to be better. I also found a few different kinds of vegetation that I could use as foregrounds. When the sun comes further down, I think there's probably a photo here, or at the very least at sunrise. There must be a photo here when there's like light on the lighthouse. Right now it's dark, so you can't really see that yellow color. So yeah, maybe when the sun is close to the horizon, come a little bit further over and it will light up the side of the lighthouse instead. It is also important to have a backup in case I simply won't get that reflection shot. It's still quite windy, even though the forecast said it shouldn't be. So chances are that I may not even get that reflection shot. So having some foreground, some leading lines and stuff like that instead is actually a really good idea. So I think I benefit a lot from just like exploring the area and finding different points of interest and different ideas that I can then photograph when the light is better.
There's a flying ship out there. That's funny.
So, getting closer to sunset. 1.5-ish hours. So now I put on the wide angle lens. Just going to walk a bit around and see if I can find some compositions a little bit closer to the lighthouse. Crazy how many mussels are here. So it seems if everything fails, I can always put on the wellies and go out into the water right here. It's quite low and hopefully there get my reflection. Or here. So a problem that I've encountered right now that I identified many years ago, shooting with a wide angle lens close to a lighthouse, you have a tendency to get that feeling where you like look up to the lighthouse or underneath the top of the lighthouse. And it's actually an effect that I don't really like that much. I like using the wide angle lens, but the lighthouse, the building, just doesn't look particularly nice when shooting it with a wide angle lens very close to it. So I think I'll probably focus a little bit on getting some distance to the lighthouse. Now luckily it does look as if the water is calming down a little bit now, so hopefully I can also get a reflection shot. Well, I brought them, so I may as well use them. All right, so going out into the water, it's quite important to make sure that you have your camera strap just in case you drop your camera, it won't go into the water. All right, so I can already definitely see a reflection. I'm not sure you can see me, but it looks nice from out here. Very nice. Also nice that it cools off a little bit. Gets warm today. Yeah, lovely. Now, of course, I went out into the water the second that some bigger waves are coming in. Classic. Well, gives me time to gives me time to reposition myself so I don't have so much seaweed in front of me. Let's see here. I think this could be good. And let's go vertical. Now I actually do not mind having a blue sky behind the lighthouse today because it's super simple, especially with the reflection here, and the lighthouse in and of itself is yellow. So we have yellow and blue, which is a beautiful color combination. Ooh, fish. Small fish. Nice. Besides the reflection, I also found myself a bit of seaweed I could use as foreground. I went really close to the seaweed foreground and went for some focus stacking. Due to the waves and the camera being handheld, I got a few photos with the foreground in focus and a few with the lighthouse, and then blended them together in Photoshop.
Alright, so here we go. I have decided to go to this side here. I'll probably also do that for sunrise. I just find that if I go to where I explored first, the sun is setting more or less straight behind it and there's no clouds that can capture the light. So I actually prefer the side light that I can get from this side here of the lighthouse. Now this first composition is super simple, straight on using the road as a leading line. I'm shooting at f13, ISO 100, and then I am focus stacking this one, focus bracketing it. So on the tripod and simply just letting the camera take the different exposures. As you can see here, I've also put on my polarizing filter. There is a little bit of an effect because I'm shooting not entirely 90 degrees to the sun, but almost.
In a moment, I'll give you an example where I compare 3 photos. One I took earlier during the harsh light, one without the polarizing filter at sunset, and one with the polarizing filter at sunset. But if you struggle with editing your photos, like focus stacking, balancing light, working both on the raw level like in Lightroom or Camera Raw, or working in Photoshop with blending photos, my huge 30+ and 20+ hour photo editing course is for you. Here I break down what you need to know as a landscape photographer and share all the different techniques I use to get the results I get. I introduce you to the programs, I share the basic techniques all the way through to the advanced, give you videos on my philosophy with editing, how to respect the light, what mistakes to avoid, and 11 start to finish tutorials. You will not find a better value for money course on landscape photography editing, and with the coupon code that you can find down in the description of the video, along with the link to the course, you can get $45 off.
So I am also going to try and find some different flowers I can use in the foreground to photograph the lighthouse here. I'm not going to talk you through all the different compositions that I'll try out because I'm simply going to handhold this one here with image stabilization on. And also, I simply don't have time to cover everything that I want. So I'm simply just going to show you the results. The point is that I find some kind of foreground, then I'm zooming in quite a lot, almost to 200 millimeter. And then I have that foreground a little bit out of focus. Well, actually a lot out of focus. And the good thing about just saying that I want to have it out of focus is that I can use almost whatever aperture that I want. Yeah, this looks really nice actually. Really, really nice. Beautiful.
I knew I would like the composition along the water here, and as you will see, it's one I'll return to 2 more times throughout this video. The reflection still wasn't super great, as the wind and waves hadn't calmed down properly just yet. The light was really pretty though, and as you can see on these 3 photos, one I took during scouting and 2 during the sunset, one without and one with the polarizing filter, it just makes all the difference in the world photographing in more aesthetic light, such as the golden hour. It's not impossible to get good photos on clear days outside of the golden hour, but in this case, the hard midday light does not serve the scene. midday light, golden hour light, side light, and as you'll see in a moment, blue hour and front light. Generally the light you get throughout the day and night is something I cover in my ebook on light that you can get down in the description. Besides photographing from eye height, I also tried a few closer to the ground and one without a foreground, just trying to get a reflection.
So I'm definitely also going to give this shot a try here. You can always compare it to a morning photo. Yeah. Not too shabby. It'll definitely be interesting to see how this one turns out in a few hours when the sun comes up in that direction. Now, it's not my main subject here, but I just have to photograph this scene here with the Great Belt Bridge and all those, I guess it's like some kind of fishing pole things where there's like some cormorants, I think that's the name of the bird, sitting. And the thing is, I really love the colors because the sky is really like getting orange now due to the sunset. But the water, as you can see, is like turquoise, bluish. So it looks really odd, but also really cool. Definitely going to be a nice panorama. And just like that, sun set. What an afternoon. It's always like this when the sun starts setting, that you're just like, oh, there's so many things to do. But I think I got a couple of good photos. You've already seen them. Now I do have plans for blue hour, so let's hope that the lighthouse will light up and then I can go take a few more photos. So it is about an hour and 15 or so minutes after sunset, and I'm impressed by the DJI Osmo 3 Pocket because this looks actually pretty good considering how dark it is. So I've brought out the big tripod because right now I'm making long exposures because it is as dark as it is, and then I am focus stacking a blue hour shot here with the road leading all the way up to the lighthouse. So f8 gives me a shutter speed of around 25-ish seconds when I've increased the ISO to ISO 320. So just not to stand here all night. And I'm probably only going to give that one shot because I don't want to put so many photos together for focus stacking.
So I did get a photo here. This is the non-focus stacked version as I didn't bother finish it properly because a bit later in the night I returned and reshot approximately the same composition, although a bit further back. As you can see, the road is cleaner due to the newer tarmac and with a horizontal composition. I much prefer the cleaner road and that you can see the light beaming out of the lighthouse. However, I didn't get to focus stack this one, which I would have preferred looking at it in hindsight, but then again, it's not detrimental for the photo to work.
So I'm back down at the beach and photographing in this direction right here. Right now I'm really making a long exposure, so 2-minute long exposure, ISO 100, f9 as far as I remember. So I get a very clean shot, and then even though I do have waves, the light from the lighthouse, as you can see right there, will be smoothed out. So I ought to get like a beam of light in smoothed out water. Should look good. it's just such a bummer. We've had 2 nights with the most epic display of Noctilucent clouds, and tonight, not as much as a fart. Now, I did capture a little bit yesterday. I haven't edited the photo yet. I was battling so much with so many low clouds that was just like right on top of the display of Noctilucent clouds. So I'm not sure if it turns out. You can see it here if it did. If not, well, it is what it is. And the day before, well, totally cloud cover where I live, so didn't make any sense. So yeah, I'm not always lucky. And tonight I'm definitely not lucky in regard to Noctilucent clouds. I also made my way to the other side of the lighthouse, the location I first scouted. I probably had hoped for there being some Noctilucent clouds in the background, because this would be the perspective and direction that I would have to shoot to get those clouds, but they never really manifested. At this point, the sea had also calmed down enough for me to give it a shot with a long exposure, and here is the result. So I have just slept for maybe an hour and a half. It was nice to get a little bit of a break. I'm so groggy right now. It is 3 at night also, but obviously the sun is slowly coming up. I also want to fly my drone and get a blue hour shot of the lighthouse here behind me. Now, it is important to notice that the island here is a geo zone, so you're not allowed to fly above the island. However, out over the water, it is not a geo zone. Well, technically, it is a geo zone 50 meters out there, but it is open for drone flying. During summer, it's only during spring and autumn, when the migrating birds are here, that you're not allowed to fly there. So just setting off by water's edge, flying 30 meters out, and then I can get a pano of the lighthouse, which I think will look really nice. Now, obviously, just because the geozone is open doesn't mean that you shouldn't activate your brain and just make sure that there are no like birds, or I'm setting off into a colony of geese or something like that. There are no birds right here. I have checked. They have probably seen me first and flown away, but yeah, there's nothing here. So all good. This photo was one of the main ones that I had pre-visualized from home, and it was actually the first time I got to use my new DJI Mavic 4 Pro to take photos. With the new sensor of the Mavic 4, I was confident that this was possible. I shot a few different versions of the panorama along with some non-panos. Also, that new vertical mode is so handy. So there's actually some ground fog, as you can see right here. I'm not entirely sure how to use it in my photos. It just looks really nice. You can see here in the background. Wow. I have moved a little bit away here from the lighthouse, shooting down the road. You can see the fog down here in the background. You can hardly see it. You can hardly see it in the photo. Not entirely sure how to use it. So this shot here may work. So I've just come up on a hill right here. We have the road down here. I actually parked right there. I need to clone out the car. But the fog is kind of like filling up in this area here. So I get the houses, I get the lighthouse, and then I have like fog in the bottom and a little bit of this bush here in the foreground, just to create a tiny bit of depth. 2 minute long exposure, it smooths out the fog completely, but I still need to make those long exposures to get enough light in. But I actually think that it works. Oh, I've come all the way down here to that S-curvy road because I actually don't think I'm going to be here once the sun rises. I think I want another panorama from the drone down by the lighthouse. So right now I'm just getting the shot right here where I have the road. I still have a little bit of ground fog, adds a little bit of that atmosphere to the scene. Yeah, super simple. Now I am also focus stacking this one. So I take a shot for the lighthouse and then I take one for the road here in front, maybe two. So yep, even more editing. As you can see, I changed the perspective slightly after I recorded this bit, and in the meantime the fog moved more into the scene, which works so well. But yet again, I forgot to focus stack it. Anyway, it still works. This here is amazing, like, it's way more than what I dared hope for. I hardly even imagined that I could get fog here in the morning. As you can see, I have the tripod all the way up here because I need the tripod to be tall to get above the ground fog. And it looks so good. That fog just helps simplify the scene so much. It's beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Like, I know I'm not allowed to swear, but bloody heck, the photos I'm getting right now are so good. So good. I'm back here at the beach. I still have a tiny bit of fog just below the lighthouse, but the water is so much more calm now, so I'm actually getting like a long reflection of the lighthouse, which look so good. Right now I'm just like focus stacking the beach part just to make sure that I have everything completely sharp if I want to use it. And I think I will, because I love this shot here. So good. So good. The photos I'm getting right now, it's more than I could ever have hoped for. I'm walking my way back now because the sun is coming up in just a moment, but the fog just keeps lingering around. It just fills the scene. It just looks so good. So good. They are so calm, they are so simple, they're so nostalgic, they're so... Some of these photos are definitely getting in my favorite photos of the yearbook. That's for sure, 100%.
I just love all these blue hour photos. As I mentioned, they feel so nostalgic to me because this is just such a Danish scene, although it is the first time I've ever photographed a yellow lighthouse. And photographing locally, although this is not like technically local to me, I do consider the entirety of Denmark local. But if you want to learn how I approach my local landscape photography, be sure to get me and Nigel Danson's shared course on local landscape photography. In this 13 video course, we share everything from researching, scouting, photographing in the field, how to use all the different seasons and light throughout the day to your benefit. We have a video where we discuss composition, even one where we print, and of course videos on how to edit your photos, both more advanced as I do, or a little bit more simple in Lightroom as Nigel do. You can get the course down in the description of the video.
And here comes the sun. So time to get the drone up.
For the sunrise drone shoot, I basically did the same thing. Stayed relatively close to the shore and used the vertical mode to make my panoramas. In this case, I auto exposure bracketed with the new 7-shot bracket, so quite a lot of stills to make one pano. Along with the panos, I also got a few single frames. I'm actually really surprised with the quality of the Sunstar from the 28mm camera on the drone. Very spiky and a bit unevenness that I think adds character to it.
So I basically got all the photos that I wanted, and I want to go over here in the background. There's like a hill, and see if I can get that viewpoint. But just as I was driving away from the beautiful lighthouse, the fog just keeps lingering around, and getting the combination of the sunrise light and the fog. Oh, nice. So I just keep stopping and I'm actually photographing this scene that I passed by a few times last night and tonight and this morning, but I actually didn't really shoot it, so now I have the opportunity to actually do it. And oh wow, that is such a nice S-bend in this nice little road. Still have the fog, have a little lady walking in the scene, and yeah, like she's more than welcome too, because she's adding a little bit of scale into the scene. So yeah, all good. And look at that, cute, 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 cute. Hi, look at that. Aww. I love cows. I don't want to touch them, they're disgusting, but they're so cute looking.
I also very quickly made my way down to the beach and got a final version of the reflection photo. Quite a beautiful but also very interesting collection of photos, if I may say so myself. Let me know down in the comments which one you prefer, the sunset, the night, the blue hour or sunrise version. I probably prefer the blue hour pre-sunrise version, but yeah, let me know what you think.
I made it to the top of the hill I mentioned, and yeah, the view doesn't really do a whole lot for me. The fog has sadly dissipated, so there's not really a whole lot to come for. That said, I can see the big color line ferry sailing out there, and it's going to sail into the scene, so I'm sure that's going to look awesome. Until then, I can enjoy a little bit of breakfast. If you want to learn much more about composition, about light, be sure to get my ebooks on those subjects. If you want to learn how I edit my photos, be sure to get my big post-processing course. And if you want to learn how to photograph local landscapes, find local landscapes, be sure to get me and Nigel's course on local landscape photography. There are links to everything down in the description of the video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video. I got so many photos that I'm very happy about. I know it was long, but at the very least, you were with me from the very beginning to the end. After 1.5 hours of sleep, it's about time to get to the ferry and head home. Luckily, I've reserved for the early ferry. See you next time.